Today I would like to start out with a quote, and that is, "Show me what you got, Magic," said by Larry Bird in 1986. In the late 70s and the early 80s, it was a rough time and an uncertain time for the NBA and its future. Uh, there was a lot of drama going on with players doing drugs, and there was a lot of fights happening within the league. And not only that, but racial tensions were getting really high at this point, and viewership was going down. And because of the reputation the league had, they couldn't really get a lot of sponsors. So not only were the ticket sales down, but their sponsorship money wasn't coming in, and it just wasn't looking like a great time for this league. But two stars happened to enter the league, and it was the saving grace that the NBA needed. Um, the National Basketball Association would not be the league it is today without the talent, the rivalry, and the friendship that Irving Johnson and Larry Bird brought along with them. So first of all, I want to start off with their talent. Two of the greatest players that have ever came in and played the game were, they came in just at the right time, just at the time to where the NBA needed something to come in and save it. To start off with their talent, back in high school, when they was in high school, they both got invited to something called a World Invitational Tournament, and this tournament was it was a it was kind of like the Olympics in a way, to where it was teams from all over the world would play each other, but this wasn't the big Olympics. It was more like colleges from around the world would come together and play each other. And Larry Bird and Irving Johnson at the time were in high school, but they got invited to play on this team. And you would think, because they was going against college players, that the talent that they were facing might have been too much for them. But the team actually excelled when these two were on the floor, despite having college players on the floor when they weren't. Um, they both had many accolades throughout their NBA career. Both of them were Hall of Fame inductees. They were both 12-time All-Stars, 3-time MVPs, 9-time first-team NBA members, and they both won a gold medal in 1992 with the USA Dream Team. Larry Bird was a 3-time NBA champion. He was a 2-time Finals MVP. He was a Rookie of the Year, and he averaged 24.3 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and 6.3 assists per game throughout his career. Irving Johnson, a 5-time NBA champion, 3-time Finals MVP, averaged 19.5 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 11.2 assists throughout his career. The talent that surged into the NBA with these two players was more than enough to gain viewers, so that is somewhat of the reason why these two quote unquote saved the league, because at the time there weren't really that many talented players in there, but when Bird and Johnson came in, it gave the fans something to watch. It gave them something to look forward to. It gave them a reason to turn on their TV and say, all right, we need to watch this game. Second was the rivalry they had. When they was both in college, Larry Bird, who was nicknamed the Hick from French Lick because he was from French Lick, Indiana, he was playing for Indiana State, and Magic Johnson, or Irving Johnson, nicknamed Magic, was playing for Michigan State, and they ended up meeting in the NCAA championship in 1979. Because of how bigger of a school Michigan State was at the time, they had a lot more talent built around Magic Johnson, to where Larry Bird was, not to be disrespectful to anybody, but was kind of playing with a bunch of scrubs from Indiana. So Magic walked away with that, and Bird was heated, and they were both very, very competitive players. Neither one of them liked losing whatsoever. So when they both got into the NBA, it was kind of these two were going to go at it. They were going to see who could be the best. In the first year, Bird came away with the victory somewhat. He won Rookie of the Year, which is best rookie in the league for that year. But Johnson actually ended up winning the the NBA championship in his first year. So while Bird did win the Rookie of the Year, Johnson came away with a championship ring, and Bird did not like that at all. So they actually ended up meeting two more times in the finals. The first or they actually ended up meeting 3 times in the finals. Johnson won his first year. That was not against Larry. Uh, the second year, Johnson and Bird ended up playing, and mm, excuse me, Bird ended up taking away the victory in their first meeting. And then the next 2 times, Johnson ended up coming away with the win. So they played against each other in the finals 3 times, and Johnson won 2 of them. But the rivalry that they had stretched so much beyond just 2 players wanting to win. The rivalry they had was these two guys were polar opposites. You had Larry Bird from Indiana, who had the hard hat mindset and the lunchbox mentality that just wanted to go out and work and do his thing. Then you had Magic Johnson, who was more the smiling, outgoing guy that just wanted, he had that Hollywood attitude about him. You had Larry Bird, who was an introvert and didn't really want to talk to anybody, didn't really mess with the media, just wanted to go out and play basketball and go home. Uh, Actually, there was a story that Larry Bird didn't really like doing a lot of media stuff, but he allowed the fans to have one thing. They could come to his house once a week and watch him cut the grass. And that was a big thing back in the day. Like, let's go to Larry Bird's house and watch this man cut his grass. That's how introverted he was that was like some of the only media attention that he would allow to happen. As to where Magic was all about the media, wanted to be in all the commercials, wanted to talk to all the cameramen, loved the flashing lights, had the photogenic face. He just, everything about Magic, he wanted to be in the spotlight. One was white and one was black, and back in the day, that was a big thing at the time, especially. Then you had Larry Bird, who ended up getting drafted to the Boston Celtics, which is on the East Coast, and then Magic Johnson, who ended up getting drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers, which is on the West Coast. It was like the perfect rivalry. You couldn't get it any better. This was like 2 players sent from heaven to play at this time. This is exactly what the NBA needed. And lastly, I want to start with their friendship. Converse decided to do a commercial in 1986, and they decided the 2 players they wanted to feature in this commercial would be Larry Bird and Irving Johnson. And basically what had happened was Johnson wanted Bird to come out to Los Angeles, where usually they did stuff like that. That was more of the TV place. So he wanted him to come out and do it there. And Bird said, no, but you can come to my house in Indiana, where my mama lives, and we can do the commercial there. So Johnson said, all right. Went out to Indiana. They played a friendly game of basketball, and then Johnson was going to go back to his trailer to have lunch, and Bird told him, no, my mama has prepared us lunch. You can come inside and eat. They went inside and ate, and finally, when Bird was able to see this man away from all of the lights and the cameras and just able to see him, he kind of, noticed that, that's not a bad guy. He's not really what, the media and everything portrays him to be and what he portrays himself to be when he's around the media. So that kind of grew like a mutual respect, and their friendship started growing after that. Now, later, Irving Johnson, unfortunately, was diagnosed with HIV. It was towards kind of the end of his playing career, or not really the end, but later stages of his playing career. And, he didn't, after Johnson had found out that his wife and his unborn child at the time was not infected, he kind of let the news spill to his inner circle. Larry Bird ended up catching wind of this and immediately needed to talk to Magic. That's what he told his manager when his manager called him and told him the news. He said, I need to talk to him. How can I get in touch with him? This and that. And ended up getting on the phone with him. And Magic said that was, one of the best things that could have happened to him throughout that whole process of the diagnosis and how to get through it, was that one of the guys that had been seen as his biggest rival throughout almost his entire life called him to see what was going on, and basically they started to become friends. They went, and they were both pretty old at this point, probably didn't need to be playing basketball, but they both played in 1992, obviously won a gold medal, as I stated earlier, and the impact on the culture of the NBA was drastically changed by these 2 becoming friends and that coming out, because like these 2 opposites this white guy versus this black guy. They're friends, and that was a it wasn't so uncommon, I wouldn't say, in this stage, but it definitely, for all the people that didn't think progressively and still thought that segregation and all that, seeing these two great players get along, no matter their skin color, no matter their attitudes, no matter where they're from, it was a big thing for the NBA at the time. And a lot of people want to say, this is the counterclaim, a lot of people want to say that Michael Jordan was the guy who came in and saved the NBA. And Michael Jordan was a great player. I am not doubting that whatsoever. He's arguably the best player of all times, even though I think it's LeBron James. He came in and he, did his thing. At the time, obviously, he was the greatest player that had ever stepped foot on a court. But he was only one player. And, just that one player cannot be enough to come in and save an entire league. I don't care how good you are. The rivalry and the friendship and just all of that went in with Bird and Johnson was so much more of a saving grace. Now, I will say that Jordan came in and he propelled the league to become a major sport throughout the world. Basketball, it was a big sport, but in America, it was the National Basketball Association was propelled into the upper ranks because they had such a great player. Nobody could beat this guy. But Magic and Bird took the league from a place to where they didn't know if it was going to make it and brought it up. Jordan took it from a place of, we know this league's going to make it, and just propelled it from there. So, in conclusion, without the talent, the rivalry, and the friendship of Bird and Johnson, the NBA wouldn't be the same league we know it today. A lot of stuff happened throughout their careers, but who knows what the NBA would have been without these two players. Thank you.